All right, so what's up, y'all? It's your boy E Double.
What's up? What's up, good people? Cedric Lavelle, episode 16. Keep it thorough.
16, keep it thorough.
Man,
Hey,
knocking them out, bro.
hey,
Knocking
16
them out.
weeks in, man. I'm excited. That's
Tell
that's
about you,
4,
bro.
8, 12, 16. That's 4 months. You know what I'm saying? Of
Hey,
consistency, quality content. You know, I'm out of town again, coming to y'all from Milwaukee this time. You know, but we gonna
that
be
boy
talking.
had courtside seats at the Bucks game last night.
They wasn't courtside. They was about 5 rows back, but they was good though. I ain't even gonna flex on you. They was some good seats. I could see Giannis. I seen Giannis' face. You know what I'm saying? I could see it. You know,
Seeing that
but
sweat coming off that boy's face.
yeah, them boys got the W too. But so today, man, we talking about assets and liabilities, right? This really is a Money Matters episode. So we do a Money Matters episode at least one every month. And not even a flex. See, that was said. I wasn't even gonna say nothing about it. You know what I'm saying? That was said. You know what I mean?
My bad.
But yeah, so this is a Money Matters episode, and we think it's very important, you know what I mean, to understand the difference between assets and liabilities. I think on surface level, a lot of people may know what it is or may think they know what it is, but when you kind of pull back that sheet and dig a little deeper, I think some people may think certain things are assets that really are not assets. And I think for the most part, most people understand what a liability is, you know what I mean? But there's some misconceptions out there about certain assets, right? Quote unquote. So yeah, so without further ado, man, let's go and jump right into it.
Jump right into it, man.
Oh,
so
I forgot one thing.
Go ahead, bro. You got it.
Don't forget, every episode we have a kit, link in the bio. Just remember that I didn't update the link in the bio, but it will be updated by the time this episode is over with. So click the link in the bio and you can see the assets/liabilities kit where, high level overview of what we talked about. And then there's always, some books and whatnot in there. So resources, you know what I mean, to tap into. So hand it off to you,
Good
Sid.
books in there too.
Yeah.
Was it Cash Flow Quadrant, Millionaire Next Door, and I Teach You How to Be Rich. So good resources. Check those books out after we complete the live. But yeah, so first thing, what are assets and liabilities? Like he was just saying, man, like on surface level, many people kind of have somewhat of an understanding of assets and liabilities. But if we were just to define it and attach a definition to both, when we're talking about assets, we're talking about tangible or intangible resources that can produce positive economic flow. So economic value, excuse me. So there's things that essentially make money, things that are going to give you a positive return, something that essentially is going to put you in the plus category opposed to being in the minus category. And that can range from an array of different things. We'll get into those things as we progress through the live, but that's essentially what you're looking at when we're talking about assets. And then when you're looking at liabilities, those are just debt responsibilities that must be settled through the transfer of money, goods, or services. So that's just something that you owe, right? And with liabilities, not all debts are bad debts if managed correctly, but it's essentially certain things that you owe. So being aware of the difference between having assets, having liabilities. What's up with it, Drew?
Yeah, what's up, Drew?
And also being mindful of how you're spending, where your money is going, where it's coming from. And once you have an idea of how those things kind of work together, it gives you better leverage as it relates to your financial stability, whether it's something that you're doing currently or whether it's something that you're looking to pursue in the future. So that's just a quick little overview.
Yeah, so and then to piggyback on, I agree with everything you said, but to piggyback on assets, it don't even necessarily have to be something that's currently making you money. It could be something that you're holding that isn't costing you money, but maybe either holding its value or increasing in value, right? So that's also an asset. So as long as it's something that you have or that you hold, that when you go to sell it, it's gonna net you a gain. You know what I mean? And to go back to what we was talking about on like surface level, right? Where like most people surface level understand what an asset is. What's good with you, Big Lando? I see you in this thing, boy. But So assets, right? A lot of people think that purchasing a home is an asset, right? It's not, right? Now, a home that you buy and you live in costs you money every month. You're paying the mortgage, which includes, you know what I mean, your mortgage, your interest rate. I'm not gonna count utilities because you're gonna pay utilities wherever you live, but you got to pay your taxes, right? And like when you actually account for all of that, that's costing you money. That's not
Right.
making you money. And there's no guarantee, which is going to be hard for people to understand this in this current market with how all these prices is fucking through the roof. But there's no guarantee when you sell your house that you're going to make money. Like a lot of people look at homeowners insurance, exactly. PMI, if you didn't pay 20% down on the mortgage, then you're also paying the private mortgage insurance. But there's no guarantee when you sell your house you're going to make money. And let me explain that to you. So a lot of people again look surface level, and I'm gonna do very simple numbers just for oversimplification. Say you buy your house for $200,000, right, and then you sell it for $250,000, right? People look at it on surface level and be like, "Oh, I made $50,000." Hold up, no, you didn't.
Hold up, pump the brakes.
You got to go through. Okay, so if you were in that house for 5 years and this is high taxes, right? But if you're in that house for 5 years and you were paying $5,000 in property taxes, that's $25,000 you need to subtract from that gain. You need to subtract the interest that you paid on your mortgage payment each month over those 5 years. Subtract that from that $50,000 gain, and then you really see if you actually netted a gain and actually made any money, which sometimes you may, but it's not a guarantee. And I think a lot of people's mindset on houses is the old way of thinking, right? Like back in the old days, people would buy a house, they would keep it for 30 years, pay it off, still be living in the house, pass that house on to their relative, to their family members. And when they first bought the house, it was $50,000, and now that same house is worth $550,000. And yeah, you made all this money. Yeah, but like, let's be realistic now. Most people don't live in a house for 30 years anymore. That's just not, most people aren't doing that. You know what I mean? So that's a misconception. You know what I mean? Where a lot of people think that a home that you buy and you live in is an asset. It's not. It's a liability. Now, a home that you purchase and you rent out, right? That you don't live in, 100% an asset. They're paying for your mortgage and then you're netting a profit every month. They're covering all of the expenses and you're making money. So just wanted to clear that up, right? And again, liabilities, anything that's costing you money. Said touched on it. Did a very good job on it. So and also all debt is not bad debt. If you took out a loan that was, decent interest rate to finance a business that's making you money every month, where you're able to pay off that loan and still net a gain, that's not bad debt. That's actually great debt. That's a great way of utilizing loans and debt.
It's leverage.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, did you want to add anything on?
Nah, man. So really, one thing that I've kind of recognized, because I know a lot of times we talk about personal experiences, but I've talked to you about this, but understanding just the psychology behind money, you know what I'm saying? And really taking an interest on how money like truly works, understanding what goes on behind the scenes. So I would encourage anybody, man, go read books, go find any resource that's available to you.
Man, books are powerful, man. Books are powerful.
Go on the internet, look up certain things, ask certain questions, mentors, different types of podcasts that you can tap into. Because I feel like once you really understand how money works and just some of the details of it, and you really start to change your mindset about money, man, it'll definitely help out in the short term, but also in the long term as well too. But yeah. Go for it,
1,000%, man. So moving on, right? So hold on, what did he say? Hey, one of y'all send me the link to the 4th episode and where to follow and all that. I'm about to bust some moves. Hey, 1,000%, bro. 1,000%. So cool. Next, moving on, right? So how assets help And what do liabilities prevent, right? So first we're gonna touch on assets. So what do assets help? So assets help to grow your wealth, right? When you accumulate enough assets and they're making money, aside from your, day-to-day job, your career, whatever it is, that's how you grow wealth, right? When your money is making money, that's the epitome of your money working for you.
Money working for you,
Right?
yeah.
Like that's what that is. You need to add as much to that asset column and remove as much as you can from that liabilities column. You want the least amount of liabilities as possible, right? And then assets help to make less risky investments. Let me explain that, right? So say you work a 9 to 5, you get your paycheck, whatever that paycheck is, and you want to start a business, right? That's risky on its own, right? But you're taking the money that you just worked hard for to invest into that business, right? So if you lose that money, it's actually money lost, right? Because it's money that you just made that you lost and you can't replace. When you have assets, right? Typically assets are created off of money that was already spent. So that's a gain already. You know what I mean? So if you were to lose that, it's really a net. You break even, right? So if you're investing, making additional investments with assets you already have, it's less risky, because if you make money, then yeah, you've made money off of something that was already a gain. So you're like doubling your gains, right? Whereas if you lose it, you really technically didn't lose it, because it was house money. It was money that you already made. It wasn't, does that make sense? Said you hearing
Yeah,
me
no, I got
say
you.
that?
No, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
just
You
want to make
explain
sure the
that perfect.
audience is
Money that
following that, and you the only
there's
one I
money
can
already
really
in the
ask
bucket.
directly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, so it makes it less risky. Now, obviously, you want to be calculated. There's a difference between being bold and being reckless. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
any investments that you make, you want to, there's going to be some risk associated with it, but just make sure you do your due diligence, and you vet as much as you can, and there should be some level of comfort. You know what I mean? But there's always going to be, a little nervousness.
A little bit nervous in
But
there.
yeah, so it makes it less, assets make certain investments less risky,
It's
right?
risky. Yeah.
And then assets help in creating generational wealth, right? So obviously, we spoke on wealth twice. I said it helps to grow your wealth. When we're talking about generational wealth, that's not your wealth. That's wealth you can pass on. And if you have a whole lot of assets that you can pass on to your children, you put them in a great position right out the gate. And I'm gonna tell y'all about a loophole that y'all probably don't know about, because I didn't know about this until a couple years ago. Say for instance, you have a stock portfolio and you pass away and you transfer that to your children. Whoever inherits that portfolio, they don't pay taxes on where it is right now. They only pay taxes on the gains it makes from when they took over. So say for instance, I'm gonna use one stock as an example. Say I buy one stock I'm gonna just use simple math, for $1, and that same stock is worth $100,000 now. If I was to cash that out, I would be paying $999,999 in capital gains tax, right, on that amount. If I pass away and I pass that over to my kids, they start at zero. They don't owe anything until only the gains they make from that point on, right? So that's a crazy loophole. There's a name for it, but I can't remember what it's called. But that's something that the rich benefit from and capitalize on. You know what I mean?
Right.
Passing those assets on to their children, and then they don't have that. It lessens their tax liability. You know what I mean? And they're starting off already with a significant amount of assets, right? So those are ways assets can help you. Now let's talk about what liabilities do to prevent certain things. So liabilities prevents you from building an emergency fund. So there's a couple different ways when you think about it. When I hear emergency fund, I think about savings, right? Like having, if shit hit the fan, what can I do? The truth of the matter is most people live paycheck to paycheck. And all of those bills that you have are liabilities, right? So a lot of people, they essentially work, pay their bills, and whatever they got left over, that's kind of like what they live off of. They don't really have, you know, savings or a lot of money put up where, you know, some shit hit the fan. And, you know, the more liabilities you have, obviously, the less money you can put aside to save or invest or whatever. So, you know, liabilities prevent you from having an emergency fund. Liabilities also prevent you from saving for future needs and plans, which I really just outlined. Those two things kind of go hand in hand. The emergency fund, a lack of funds is a lack of funds. You know what I mean? If it's not there, can't put it in an emergency fund, can't put it in a savings plan. You can't invest. You can't, you know, make other plans because, you know, you can't spend money that ain't there, right?
Right.
And then thirdly, liabilities cause you to be more cautious. So, like I said, with the assets, it allows you to make less risky investments because you kind of sort of playing with house money to a certain extent. Liabilities make you way more cautious because, you know, you don't have a lot of money, and if you lose it, it's gone. So that's going to make you way more cautious, right? And not be as what's the word I'm looking for? I'm gonna say a risk taker, but again, risk doesn't have to be reckless. It can be calculated risk.
Calculated risk.
So it makes you less likely to take those chances. And anybody knows when it comes to investing, when it comes to gambling, any of that, the larger the risk, the larger the reward. You know what I mean? And if you're not willing or in a situation where you can, you know, take those chances and you're being cautious because you're scared about what you're going to lose, then you're not going to grow. You know what I mean? You don't have that opportunity to grow. So that's what liabilities, those are some ways that liabilities prevent you from, you know, growing and grow. You got anything you want to add, Seth?
No, well, I was going to say, when we spoke about generational wealth, and actually we're probably going to go into this on this next slide that we got, but having an understanding of the trickle down with assets and knowing certain ways that you can leverage what it is that you're putting most of your money in order for it to be able to go from one generation to the other, whether it be something with royalties, whether it be something in licensing, but understanding that aspect of generational wealth and how to build it definitely helps out in the long run. That's pretty much like a segue into the last slide that we have with how we can increase assets and also lessen liability. So we can hop into that one now.
Yeah, and we've talked numerous about various different ways to invest, right? Like as far as your children, like whether it's 521, 529 accounts or custodial accounts, or you know, there's numerous, whether you want to invest in crypto, you want to invest in stocks, index funds, mutual funds, you know, invest in businesses, certificate of deposits, which have very low return rates, but still better than savings accounts.
Yeah.
Numerous different
vehicles
ways to, you know, invest and make money. But I'll let you take assets, said, and then I'll do liability.
Yeah. So basically identifying opportunities to create intellectual property. So that's your trademarks, that's your patents, that's your copyrights. With trademarks, whether it's your brands, your businesses, you know, a certain product that you're creating where you've given it a unique name to it, or whether it's a copyright, whether it's through books or some sort of publishing or something that you put online, or patents with something special that you create from a technological standpoint. There's so many ways that you can do this. Now, obviously, it'll take a lot of patience and a lot of research to build up IP, but with your intellectual property, it's something that you own. It's something that's yours, and you have the flexibility to do certain things with it because it's under your company, whatever X company that may be. And like what we was just saying, like that allows you to create generational wealth because it's something that can also live on, especially when it's kind of structured the right way where it can be passed down from, you know, one generation to the next generation. So in order to increase assets, definitely understanding intellectual property and having something in those categories can be beneficial in that regard. Then also developing something that generates royalties or can potentially be licensed. And a lot of times royalties can come through music, royalties can come through books. And then with licensing, different programs, different trainings that you can create, just original content that you can think up of and essentially licenses out to businesses or different individuals that can implement it into their own structure, whether it's a business, some sort of company, whatever the case may be. But when you're licensing materials, that's another way of building your assets. That's another way of creating generational wealth. That's another way of creating something that can live beyond you. So between those two things, for me, I know personally, that's been one of my key areas of focus as it relates to investing. And there's a lot of different ways that we were just talking about that you can invest and create income. But for me, I've always felt an urge and a desire to understand more about intellectual property and understand more about how royalties and licensing work, especially from the ownership aspect. I'm big on that as well too. Owning everything, own everything, and own no one type of thing.
Well. We learned about another strategic approach to that though, that we will share with you.
Oh yeah. We're gonna facilitate that one soon.
Yeah. No, but I think what you touched on about intellectual property, trademarks, copyrights, patents, or licensing and all that. With the trademarks, copyrights, and patents and things like that, I think that's an example of like an asset that some of that stuff could potentially be making you money right now, but some of it may not be actually quote unquote making you money, but holds value that can be sold for, a lot of money, especially if you have a special way of doing something, or I don't know if you've patented a way to produce something, or you know what I mean, something like that.
Process.
Yeah, but that's definitely something that you can hold that can potentially increase in value or have a lot of value right now. That then when you sell, you have that monetary gain. But so as far as liabilities, obviously progressively eliminating long-standing debt and attack it strategically. The more liabilities you have, the harder it will be to add things to the asset column, right? Like we spoke about it. The more debt you have, the more money you're going to have to throw at that debt to try to pay it off, if you're going about it the right way, right? Like some people just let their debt sit there and just spend their money, but they're still not adding them to the asset column. If you really want to grow your wealth and want to become financially independent, you need to attack that debt, period, point blank. And credit is king. And with terrible, with a lot of debt, 9 times out of 10, your credit ain't gonna be the greatest, and you're not gonna be able to finance certain things. The name of the game is to keep your cash, you know what I mean, leverage your capital, and like leverage your credit, you know what I mean, like use their money. The rich people use other people's money. That's what they use the least amount of their money as possible, and use other people's money. Use the bank money, work with some investors to raise, funds, and utilize their money. So definitely progressively eliminate long-standing debt and attack it strategically. You got to pay down the debt and be strategic about it. Like, okay, create a budget, and okay, this amount every month I'm going to pay, this down. And you got to be willing to make sacrifices, right? You can't do everything at the same time. You can't be taking a trip every couple months and buying new shoes and clothes, everything every couple months when you're saying you want to be financially independent. Those two don't go together. You know what I mean? You got to make some sacrifices. You got to make some sacrifices up front. That pair of shoes you was gonna buy, pay down that credit card. That trip you might was gonna take, pay down that credit card. I said this before. The seeds you plant today bear fruit tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, you got to make sacrifices today to see the benefits down the road. And the more seeds you plant, right, that fruit starts coming a little more frequently. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, just make sure you make those sacrifices now. Another way to lessen your liabilities is spend money on items that have the potential to create positive cash flow, which essentially that's just investments, right? Put your money in places where you can invest. Just because you're in debt don't mean you can't still invest right now. You know what I mean? Like, you can continue to add things to the asset column even though you have debt. And then that money that you're making in them assets can help you pay down that debt.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So make sure you're putting your money in places where it could benefit you and where your money can make money for you. Be an investor. Don't have that consumer mindset where you get the money and you spend it. Get the money and spend it. No, have that investor mindset. Get the money invested. Get the money invested. Then off of them gains you make, spend that. You know what I
And
mean? And that way you still have the money that you initially invested that's continuing to make money for you. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, assets and liabilities, man. This actually kind of ended up being a lot shorter than I thought it was gonna be, but a lot of positive content. And I'm gonna let you go, Sid, if there's anything you wanna add on.
nah, man, well, what you just said just now, man, it really goes into the sacrifices that you're willing to make. You know, the sacrifice that you're willing to make as it relates to building up your assets and lessening your liabilities, being strategic about your spending, where your money is going, being aware, being in tune, you know, understanding the market, understanding how business works. But really ultimately just finally, you know, just finding what works best for you. You know, everybody goes about building wealth or generating capital in so many different ways. You know, you've got so many different people on social media and, you know, all these different influencers and advisors and financial guys saying to do this, do that. And some of those ways are all fine and good, but you certainly want to do what works
For
best for
you,
you, you know,
100%,
and
1000.
find a comfort level in what you're doing and make certain that you're passionate about it. Because in the end, you know, when you're in tune with what's going on and you're a learner and you're asking questions and you want to be in the know, and you become more of like a partner, so to speak, with whoever that you're working with, it makes for a better relationship and potential better returns later on down the line. So really just reshaping the way that you approach money and how you think about it, and then taking those necessary steps to just be strategic, hold yourself accountable, and like you was saying, man, like don't just go out and spend money. Like be, you know, invest it properly, and then, you know, generate the money that you need to reinvest it. You know what I'm saying? And then create the wealth not only for current but long term as well too.
And I quote a lot of books multiple times because of the great content. And I typically tend to quote the books that I'm currently reading because all the content is top of mind, fresh in mind. But in Rich Dad Poor Dad, like, he really talks a lot about, do you work for money or does your money work for you? Right. And then he talks about how the rich pay themselves first, whereas the poor, quote unquote, middle class, you know, as well as poor, pay themselves last. And now that philosophy will kind of go over a lot of people's head, because it's like, what do you mean pay yourself first? Like, how do you do that? And I'm not going to really go into detail about that, but I would really encourage anybody who you know, is open to, you know, learning more and really understanding assets and liabilities and the flow and how that flow works, to pick up that book and read it. But essentially, it's all about mindset. A lot of this stuff is all about mindset and how you think about certain things. You know what I mean? So when it comes to, do you work for money or does your money work for you? It all comes down to like your thought process and how you approach it. And then a lot of that falls into the, you know, are you working towards growing your own? Like in the last episode, we talked about minding your business, right? Which basically just meant finding something that you're passionate about and where you can generate money, and how you cannot obtain financial freedom if your job is your only source of income, right?
Right.
So when it talks about, do you work for money or is money working for you, it really just comes down to that, right? Like, if you have a lot of things in your asset column, and they're making and generating you a lot of capital and a lot of money, that's your money working for you, right? Whereas if you don't have any of that and you're literally living paycheck to paycheck, where it's like, damn, you know, you got to bust your ass to get a little overtime, or you got to, you know, like, damn, like, I'm only gonna get this much, and you like that, you know what I mean? You're every 2 weeks you get your paycheck. It's kind of a struggle, and you're trying to figure it out. That's you working for money, right?
Yeah.
And you want to get out of that, what they call in that book, the rabbit race, or the rat race.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's an ongoing cycle. Because the reality is this: if you're bad with money, you're bad with money. Whether you're making $1,000 every 2 weeks, or whether you're making $5,000 every 2 weeks. If you're bad with money, you're bad with money, and you're gonna stay in that rat race. It ain't, whether you're financially independent really don't come down to how much money you make. And a lot of people don't realize that. It's not about how much money you make. It's how you maintain and manage the money that you have.
Absolutely.
So, because there's a lot of people out here that make 6 figures and they're still in bad financial position. They're still living paycheck to paycheck. You know what I mean? Like, because they're spending all their money. But yeah, though, this, like I said, this episode was a little shorter than I thought it would have been, but obviously the knowledge and the content was solid as always. Excuse me.
Bless you, my brother.
Appreciate you. But if you ain't got nothing else to add, said
Man,
we will definitely catch y'all next week. So just a heads up. We had to switch things up this week because there was a last minute little situation that I had to attend to yesterday. And we're doing the episode on Wednesday next week. And then the following week, we'll go back to Thursdays. So next week, catch us on Wednesday. And then a week after that, we'll be back on Thursdays. But with all that said, man, we appreciate y'all.
All the time, man.
16 weeks in, of consistent content. Me and said, keep coming across other, motivational speakers or blogs or podcasts or whatever that are literally talking about the exact same things we just did an episode on. You know what I mean? And some of the stuff is almost damn near verbatim. You know what I mean?
They stealing our stuff, man.
Yeah, which I don't think they stealing it, but you know what I mean? It's good content
love,
is good content, sure. Right? And it just it reinforces with us that we're on the right track and the information that we're providing y'all is beneficial. You know what I mean? And it will continue to be beneficial. You know what I mean?
All day.
100%, 1,000%. But with all that said, man, hey, we appreciate y'all again. A lot to come. And if you don't do nothing else, keep it thorough.
Keep it thorough. Hey, appreciate everybody that just tuned in for the first time too. Before we let out, man. Appreciate y'all showing up.
Hey, 1,000%. Hey, and all the 4 episodes are, if you go to our Facebook page and hit the little play button icon, there's something called series there, and it has all of the full-length episodes right there. But yeah, we'll holler at y'all next time, man. Deuce.
No doubt. Peace.